Michigan State's conference slate is kind of sort of set for next year. We find out who the Spartans will play, how many times, all that good stuff. And also, well, yeah, it's April, so 'tis the season for some bracketology talk. And then after a little bit of mailbag questions, including, does Wikipedia know something that we don't about the next 12 years of Michigan State versus Michigan in football? I don't know. Let's find out.
Are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you so much for kicking off your day with us here at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. Yes, even this deep into the offseason, we're hitting you with all of the good information coming out of East Lansing. Like today, hey, we're going to be talking about Michigan State and their basketball schedule coming up. The conference slate has dropped. But before getting to any of that, hey, please rate, review, and subscribe to this here podcast or YouTube channel. Anyway, you are listening or watching this, thank you so much. Really do appreciate you guys. All right, let's get to the news here. And if you're on YouTube, you're going to enjoy this because we're going to share this very nice, simple, clean graphic that Michigan State basketball tweeted out. And if you're listening on the podcast, well, I got good news for you. We're still going to go through all of it anyway. Quite simply put, all right, the Big Ten dropped. All right, what Big Ten team is going to play who next year? You get 3 teams that you just play at home, 3 that you just play away, and then the rest, the other 7, you play home and home. All right, so for the home-only games next season, Michigan State gets Iowa, they get Ohio State, and they get Rutgers. Away, the teams they will only face once, and it will be on the road, Indiana, Nebraska, and Purdue. So that means that the home and home, or home and away as this graphic has, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, Michigan, Illinois, Penn State, and Wisconsin. Now the actual dates of these games have not been dropped yet. We still got quite some time before that gets unveiled. But yes, that is what we are looking at for next season. So naturally, it's time to opine on it. It is time to drop some takes on this. And let's start with the away-only games, because if you are like me, you're more of a give me the bad news first kind of guy. Well, yeah, let's just start with the not fun games. The one time you get to face a team and it's going to be on the road. It goes without saying that there is a pretty glaring thing to notice here, and that is, yes, you only get Purdue once this season, and yes, it will be at Mackey Arena. All right, as it stands right now, even with, Zach Edey still deciding whether he wants to stay in the draft or not, it looks like Purdue will be the second team to beat in the conference, right behind Michigan State. That's where it stands right now. Got a whole long way to go, still with the transfer portal, still with guys deciding if they want to come back from the NBA or stay in the NBA draft. But I digress. You get Purdue. It's going to be once at Mackey Arena, a place that Michigan State is 0-6 at since 2015. Yikes. Not all too fun. And also, well, you get Indiana just once, and that is on the road as well at Assembly Hall. Michigan State kind of somewhat holding their own against Indiana since 2015. They are 3-4 at Assembly Hall against the Hoosiers since, but still, those are the 2 toughest places, maybe beside the Breslin Center, in the Big Ten. Even depending who you talk to, even if you do include the Breslin Center, yeah, Mackey Arena and Assembly Hall are the 2 toughest places to play in the conference, and you do not get the luxury of welcoming Purdue or welcoming Indiana to your barn this season. Oh, boy. Now, Indiana, on the other hand, yeah, we just talked about Purdue. Yeah, they'll be solid this year. They're probably going to be the second, if not third team to beat in this Big Ten. Indiana is going to be kind of in the middle of the pack. They've had just an okay offseason as far as transfer portal goes. They've had some big targets out there that they swung and missed on. But right now, Joe Lunardi, that's right, we're talking about the bracketologist over at ESPN. He has Indiana as the first team out right now. So just to give you an idea of where they stand, they'll be a kind of a mediocre team, but still, nevertheless, very hard to win on the road in the Big Ten, especially at a place as tough as Indiana. And the third away-only game, Nebraska. Nebraska will be fine next year. They'll be okay next year. I think they'll compete for a tournament bid, actually. But last year when you won on your senior day and you spotted them 12 points at halftime and you are 5-1 against them at their home gym since 2015, I'm going to need to be shown why I need to be fearful of that game. Surely saying that won't backfire on me, but yeah, that's fine, whatever. Now, the home-only games, a lot of good news with this one. Hey, first and foremost, Iowa, you do not have to go to Carver Hawkeye Arena, and I, quite personally, could use a few years of a break from going to Carver Hawkeye since what happened on that fateful February Saturday not too long ago where MSU was, how much were they up? 33 points with 20 seconds to go. Regardless, you do not have to go to Carver Hawkeye Arena. That's fun. Ohio State, you only get them once next year, and it is at Breslin Center, and that's great because they're going to be solid next season. All right, they got a top 10 recruiting class. They might return Bryce Sensabaugh. He's going to debate if he wants to stay in the NBA draft or not. Bruce Thornton, God, the guy that tuned us up pretty good in the Big Ten tournament. No one's forgotten about him. So Ohio State, not the tournament last year, not the NIT last year, but they will be a solid team next season. So it's nice just to get them once and at Breslin Center. And then third, hey, you know what? Rutgers, we are not going to be facing you at the rack. Thank goodness you only face the Scarlet Knights once. That'll be at Breslin Center. Now for the home and homes. Okay, you know what? Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, and Penn State. Those are 4 teams, according to BartTorvik.com, that are going to be the 4 bottom teams in the Big Ten. So you can take a lot of solace knowing that, hey, the 4 teams that the metrics, assume will be the bottom 4 in the conference will be teams that you get to play a combined 8 times. And look, I always like playing Michigan twice, whether they're good or they're bad. They had that one weird year not too long ago where they just faced off once during the regular season, and that's not right. You got to have these protected rivalries, make sure you are facing off 2 times a season, and that continues as well this year. And I also feel the same like that about Wisconsin as well. There's a pretty good rivalry between Michigan State, between Wisconsin as well. Pretty 2 evenly matched teams. So, yeah, it's nice to see that. Well, okay, we're going to face the Badgers twice, the Wolverines twice, and not just because, they'll be not so good. You can only say that about one team, actually. It's just Michigan. Right now, as it stands, we're not going to be looking too hot next year. Wisconsin will be a solid team, but, yeah, you can't complain too much about what we saw from the Big Ten. I mean, you get a lot of good breaks, but yeah, the 2 tough breaks are at Indiana and then at Purdue, because I know it was 10 years ago that we won at Mackey Arena. It might as well have been 30 years ago. It's a very faint memory to me. So there you have it. That's the news of the day. Now, if I could be selfish and talk about something that is completely irrelevant, something that no one that has a sane mind should even be worried about, we'll step right in and let's talk about some bracketology. That's right, in late April. Who doesn't want to talk about what's going to go on next March? 11 months away from when it actually happens. Well, hey, I sure do want to talk about it, and I think you'll like to hear what Joe Lunardi has to say. All right, so he updated his bracketology, and your Michigan State Spartans, they have gotten that dream pairing for the first 2 rounds and then the regional round. That's right. They're going to be the 1 seed. According to Joe Lunardi, they're going to be starting their tournament in Indianapolis. They'll take on the winner of New Orleans or Wagner in the 16 game. And then the 8-9 game would be Iowa State and Providence. And more importantly, they are the 1 seed in the Detroit region. That's right. Next year, I'm sure a lot of you already know, but if you need a refresher, those Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games, they will be going on at Little Caesars Arena. The other sites for the regionals will be Los Angeles. There's going to be 1 in Dallas and then 1 in Boston as well. But as far as the round of 64 and round of 32 games, Indianapolis is the best place for Michigan State to go. The other cities, Brooklyn, Memphis, Spokane, Charlotte, Salt Lake City, Omaha, and Pittsburgh next year if you want to book flights to all 8 of those locations, just in case that's where MSU goes. Just a quick note here, the other 1 seeds for Joe Lunardi's first bracketology, it's Duke. They are the number 1 overall seed, according to Joe Lunardi. And of course, hey, Michigan State will be facing Duke very early next year in the Champions Classic. And they might be facing one of the other 2 1 seeds, Marquette or UConn, the reigning national champs, as well, because, hey, the Gavitt games between the Big Ten and the Big East are going down. And I would I would bet a pretty penny that Michigan State is either going to get that Marquette rematch or they will be facing UConn. Tom Izzo is going to be begging he gets either one of those two teams. Of course, he wants the toughest schedule possible, and I'm sure the networks would really appreciate the ratings that they would get around a Michigan State versus Marquette or a Michigan State versus UConn game. So there you have it. We're going to see a lot of one seeds early on this year is my assumption. All right, now let's get into it a little bit more after this short little break here. But first, I just need to talk your ear off about Built Bar. That's right, gang. If you're looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and all the calories, well, do I got the protein bar for you? It's Built. You have got to try it for 3 reasons. Reason number 1, they're going to treat your taste buds with nothing but the utmost respect. These are wrapped in 100% real dark chocolate. If you like the Built Puffs, the first ever protein-infused marshmallow, those are my personal favorite. They are so delightful and taste better than a candy bar. The second reason they take care of you is they're going to be great on the body. Most of these Built bars are just 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, but yet a whopping 17 grams of protein. You're going to feel that power. You're not going to feel weighed down with all the sugar and all the calories like your old protein bar you used to eat. Not with Built. And the third way they take care of you is just with convenience. Hey, let's say that Built.com isn't convenient enough for you. Let's say you're running an errand, you're at Walmart or you're at Sam's Club. You can get a specialty flavor box. That's right, at the pharmacy section of Walmart or Sam's Club. Or hey, if you're old-fashioned, just head over to Built.com to stock up on those Built bars. All right, mailbag time. LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. Or if you ever want to reach out, Sheehan_sports on Twitter as well. And we are going to start with something that Brad LaPlante, yes, of Spartans Illustrated, he uncovered before the weekend rolled around, actually. So we've had time to sit on this, is that Wikipedia, yes, that's right, Wikipedia, they are the futuristic fortune tellers here, because they have the results of the MSU versus Michigan rivalry from here until 2035. That's right. They got their next 12 outcomes of this Paul Bunyan matchup. And there's a lot of bad news here. They expect Michigan State to go 3-9 against the Michigan Wolverines here. Now, again, this was, of course, just one person that went in and edited a bunch of this. But hey, let's have some off-season fun here. This does turn into a mailbag question. Amongst the 3 wins, let's just talk about those 3 fun wins here. It will be in 2026 as number 4 Michigan State wins on Halloween 31-27. In 2028, number 6 Michigan State wins in late September 27-14. And then in 2030, that's right, my goodness gracious, number 13 ranked Michigan State wins 28-24. We had a nice little Twitter question here. This is from Ryan. He always asks good questions, and he turned this into a mailbag question. He wrote, would you accept this hypothetical next 12 years of results in the rivalry if each year we beat U of M, we also win the Big Ten title, and in one of those years we also win a national title? Instant answer is yes, of course. Literally anything can happen in the next 12 years. As long as I'm promised one national title, I will blindly sign up for it. I tell people today, like, I'm still running on fumes from that Rose Bowl victory that happened at this point a decade ago. One national title will sustain me the rest of my life. But let's just take away the national title. Let's say, would you take these results? Just 3 wins over those squirrely Wolverines in the next 12 years, if it just meant that those 3 years we also go on to the Big Ten title and also win the Big Ten title? I would say absolutely, positively, yes, still. I would. Now, catch me in 2035 when it's been our 5th straight year of losing to the Wolverines. I might regret what I'm saying now, but no, in the moment, let's see. That would be 3 Big Ten titles in the next 7 years. I mean, God, coming off a 5-7 season, that'd be Looney Tunes to say no to, wouldn't it? But man, even after the Peach Bowl year, I really think I'd still say yes to 3 out of the next 7. The Big Ten is getting competitive now. It's not just Ohio State rolling through everyone. Like, Michigan is clearly the big boy in town right now, as much as we hate to say it. But hey, it's not going to be a walkthrough again this year. Like, Ohio State, still a good team. I think very highly of Penn State and Drew Aller, actually, their new quarterback, the former 5-star kid. I think that that's going to add for even more competition. And then, oh yeah, that's right, USC and UCLA are coming into the fold as well. It is going to be a dogfight here for the next 12 plus years. And so, yes, if I can pocket 3 Big Ten titles in the next 12 years? 100% I do. You could have your 9 wins against us Wolverines. That's fine. But man, amongst those games, really got my eye on 2026, number 4 ranked Michigan State. Holy smokes. God, someone pinched me. I must be dreaming there. So yeah, thank you very much for flipping that into a mailbag question, Ryan and Brad LaPlante. Shout out to him for discovering that and posting that on Twitter as well. Now let's get to another mailbag question here. This one comes from Anthony. That's right. We're going to keep it with football. What position group are you most excited to see in action next fall? For me, it would be the offensive line. I actually think they will be a pretty serviceable group. And yes, that's exciting, writes Anthony. I got to side with you here. Definitely excited for the offensive line. They're going to be experienced. They're going to be skillful. Another year under Coach Cap under their belt. So that's going to be exciting. But for me, I got a few written down. I couldn't just answer this easily and just give you one position group. Of course, I had to be annoying about this. But before I answer that directly, I want to say the group I'm most anxious to see. When I hear the word excited, that means, I expect great things from them. But right now, there is one group that I want to look for in these first few games. But that's just because, I don't know if they're going to be, actually good, or if this group of the nickel and safety position is going to be something we watch for because, they'll actually be good. Now, look, Dylan Tatum, Malik Spencer, Jaden Mangum. All right, these are 3 names that we know because, they got a lot of playing time last year. Now, was that because they were good? I mean, yeah, they had some good flashes last year. They showed a lot of good promise, especially from such a young group. But also, let's not kid ourselves, they also had to play because everyone on the field, especially on the defensive side of the ball, was dying last year. All right. They had to get repetitions because, you had to field 11 bodies out there. And when it's time for the true freshman to step up, hey, Dylan Tatum, come right on down. Jaden Mangum, hey, strap him up, bud, get out here. So I'm interested to see if, all right, in their sophomore years coming up, if this is going to be, hey, they're playing as sophomores because they are this good. They did get that much experience last year. Or is it that they're playing and we're just talking ourselves into them being good just because they are familiar names, kind of out of necessity last year, and there's not really a whole lot of depth behind them. So that's the group I'm most anxious to see. But as far as Anthony's questions of most excited to see, for me, it's got to be the defensive line. And that's going to be a popular answer. Offensive line, of course, will be a popular answer as well. But, man, this defensive line of Chris Bogle, Tumisi Adelaide, Simeon Barrow, and Derek Harmon, just those 2 guys, if you really want to zoom in on just one position group, just the interior defensive line, it might just be Simeon Barrow and Derek Harmon, or 8-Ball, as Dylan Tatum called him not too long ago. I love that nickname for Simeon Barrow, 8-Ball. That's what I'm talking about. So I got to go with the defensive line right there, even, with the depth pieces too. We saw Avery Dunn have some good moments last year, Maverick Hansen as well. They shored up some depth with Dre Butler and Jarrett Jackson in the transfer portal as well. But yeah, I got to go defensive line next year. I think that interior of Simeon Barrow and Derek Harmon will be on that first tier of defensive linemen in the Big Ten. I don't think that's a super homer thing to say. I think they will be in the top 4 of the conference for defensive line play. So let's just hope they stay healthy and, keep wrecking the guys up the middle here. And on the offense too, I do want to remark, I do want to include another offensive position group here, and it is running back. I am excited for running back, namely just because of what they got in the transfer portal. Yes, Jalen Berger, I think is fine. I've said it time and time again. I think he really came along good at the end of next season. I expect another solid year out of him coming up. But, man, Nathan Carter is, I think, such a step up from what you had last year, especially from the guys that left this offseason. And this is no disrespect to Eli Collins. I very much of an Eli Collins fan, but I think that Nathan Carter on the field is going to be a step up from what you got from him. All right, just from explosiveness, from his power, his vision and decision-making too. And then Jarek Broussard, look, it's safe to say that that's probably not the season that we were all hoping to get out of him. And, I think Jarek would agree with that as well, whether it be health-wise or just what he was able to do when he was on the field. I think that Jaron Mangum, the transfer running back from South Florida by way of Colorado, and then Nathan Carter out of UConn. I think just swapping those 2 guys for Jarek Broussard and Eli Collins, I think that's a pretty considerable step up for a position group that really could have used some help last year. So, yeah, I'm going to throw in the running backs there as well. So thank you very much for those questions. And again, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. If you ever want to reach out with any question, War knows in the offseason, we're starving for any questions. I mean, we're not going to be shy about it. We're not going to lie. Yeah, no, questions are always welcome. LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com, and also Sheehan_sports on Twitter. Tomorrow, we will be joined by Tyler Forness. He is an NFL draft guru. He's going to be talking Jaden Reed. We're talking Bryce Behringer. And then what other guys on Michigan State's roster do he think will get drafted or be priority undrafted free agent targets? Great conversation with him. That will be tomorrow to get you ready for the NFL draft. Keep it here. Locked on Spartans, your team in green and white, 5 days a week. Love you all. Go Green.